before the next song starts. Hey, what's up? We're live. Oh shit, wrong scene. Hold on.
Whoopsies.
There we go. Much better.
There we go. I'm on the soapbox now.
Yes, you're on my quote unquote table that is technically a box, but yeah. Hello everybody. My name's Denarius. I'm the host of this, main host of this show. Called Vtuber Gaming Talk, in which I invite a Vtuber to a one-on-one video game related topic talk, if that makes any sense. And today we have a returning guest specifically, that has a brand new look compared to last time. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello, I'm Jay. I'm the host of VTuber Talk, where you guessed it, talk to VTubers. I have been here before, but the last time I was just the logo PNG. This is the first time that I've been here with the model, and actually, I'm trying to think, this might be the first time that I've appeared on a channel other than my own with this model. So, yeah, I guess this would be the collab debut of the model. Congrats.
Oh,
also, I'm still here to serve you a cease and desist letter for copyright infringement.
I avoided that so closely last time. God damn it. God damn it.
But yes, good to be back. Busy weekend for me, actually, that I'm talking a lot this weekend. I had a show yesterday. I have this now, and then I have another show in like 4 hours. Yeah.
Good lord. You're a busy microphone. That's showing. I mean, you have a pretty busy month last time I saw. Like, the new model, the charity streams, the anniversary, everything just lined together for what it seemed to be the perfect hodgepodge of just making you busy.
Yeah, that January was the 3rd anniversary. That's when this model was debuted. And then I had a show the week after, and then I had 3 weeks with no show because I was just busy with IRL things, and that it actually wound up being, I think, possibly the longest, quote unquote hiatus that I've had in the 3 years. But now I'm sort of back with a vengeance. Even before this double sort of, triple show weekend that I'm having, that I have a couple other ones that have been happening the past 2 weeks, and I already have 2 more lined up that I'm sort of back with a vengeance here, and it's been nice.
Yeah, you're going all in. That's cool. I mean, if I know any better, I know that at least for me, when it comes to this show, I'm taking a pause on it on April just to gather around more potential guests and just to experiment a little with other types of content,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, the constant struggle of a content creator talk show host is coordinating guests, of just the scouting, the outreach, the preparation, the scheduling. That it's a lot of work that goes in behind the scenes that not everybody sees, and that especially for someone like you, that I painted myself into this box very deliberately, that I made it so it's part of the name of the channel, that it's going to be a talk show, and that's just sort of what I planned for, what I intended. But I know definitely for other folks that aren't going to be so constrained in their content creation, that the diversification is really important. And I totally understand that you're on 45 episodes here yourself. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
That it makes sense that folks want to shift around, keep things fresh in their own way. I totally respect that. It's been something very interesting for me, actually, as a host, to sort of watch secondhand and see that people start talk shows all the time, and they sort of come and go, and that's okay. And that, I'm always encouraging folks to do what is going to make them happy. And that I've seen a couple of folks start and persist with their talk shows. Some drop them faster than others. That certainly at 45 episodes, you are at sort of the upper standard deviations, as it were, for people. So even now, that to be taking a bit of a break, that makes total sense. And meanwhile, just for me, that I know I'm happy doing talking, and generally more so than I would be even gaming. So here I am, just sort of chugging along.
I mean, yeah, that technically is my case, but I also enjoy my gaming streams, like a little break. And
Yeah.
the fact is, when it comes to me at least, I like to take this talk show specifically just as a way of like break off the gaming stuff I do usually. Like, yes, I play video games on stream, but that's something I don't want to do all the time. I also like to talk about video games from time to time, and inviting someone else, it's kind of like a breakthrough and kind of force me to socialize a little bit, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
I take it as a means of getting another type of content out, getting rid a little bit of my like I don't know how to explain it. It's just social stuff that I'm not used to do, but I need to just to get rid of.
No, that makes sense, and that I think it's brave, frankly, for you to say, okay, I maybe have a bit of social anxiety and that I want to put myself out there, and sort of nudging yourself, forcing yourself out there with a talk show like this. That there's it's sort of exposure therapy in its own way, and just being able to actually get out there and make yourself comfortable. For me, that I don't really have that. I guess I'm trying to decide. Social anxiety, I've had anxiety issues in the past, I will admit that. Social anxiety has never really been one of them. That, for me, the talk show is, this is the therapeutic stuff. This is the relaxing stuff for me, that I can have a hard day, a really difficult week, something stressful in real life or whatever, and I sit down with a guest and get lost for 3 hours in a conversation that, in some of the busyness that, some days are better than others. Sometimes things just go a little haywire, and that it's not, nothing's ever life-changing, life-threatening, but it's just, you have a stressful day. And that for me, I have found that if I am lucky enough to have a show scheduled on one of those days, that the show, one, gives me something to look forward to, but then I just always feel better after a show. It's just it's so nice that, and I know not everybody's brain works the way mine does, but for me, that there's very much a reason why, when I decided that I wanted to do some sort of content creation, that a talk show was the answer, and why I've kept it that narrow, because I know that with the format that I've been able to create with mine, that to sort of borrow a phrase, it sparks joy.
Yeah, I mean, I kinda share the exact same sentiment if you really think about it, because this show has been long running as it is so far, because every time I do it, I just feel better. Like, every time I finish a conversation, even if it's an hour, if it's 2 hours or whatever, I just feel like I had my fun, and I know the guests had their fun too. And that's the important part for me. If the guests have fun, it means that I'm doing something good.
Yes,
so
that is.
I would like to keep that, see if that's possible.
Yeah, that in my opinion is the most important thing for a show host, of just the guest is the priority. That if the guest is having a good time, statistically speaking, the chat's going to be having a good time, and you're going to be having a good time. Statistically speaking, it is possible for chat to be having a good time and the guest to not be having a good time. That is suboptimal, but it is very rare that the guest will be having a good time and chat not be having a good time. Plus, it's just, it's so much easier to get people to talk when they're having a good time. That this is a win-win-win situation. That literal optimal strategy of running a talk show is make the guest happy, have the guest talk about things that they love, get them going on things that they enjoy. It's not rocket science.
Yes, it's not rocket science, but it's more like psychological science, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, in a way, and that's a big thing of just not every guest is the same. No two guests are the same, frankly. That you might find some certain tendencies with personality types, but that is another big thing for a host, of being able to adapt to different guests. And that certainly I've had folks on my show, some who are, off the walls energy and really, really easy to just sort of get them going on tangents, and that's great. There are others that are a bit more soft-spoken, but that, if you get them on the right topic, they can just go. And there's even some of just, certain topics that might be really good for others aren't going to work for some other guests. But then if you find the niche thing, or if you find just even this other topic that it's knowing how to maneuver and where to lead. Well, not even lead conversation. I feel like the guest should lead the conversation, but just nudging and adapting, the bobbing and weaving, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. Like, when it comes to my show specifically, it's just trying to find the correct, like, game series or just the game that lets them talk for hours. Like, some prefer League, some prefer Final Fantasy XIV, some prefer Helldivers nowadays, and good God, we were talking last time, for example. I just brought up Helldivers 2 as a topic, and we were talking for that for an hour straight. We didn't stop. I kind of love that.
Yeah, just whenever you can get someone just going on a topic.
Also, hey, Rhea. Welcome.
Hi, Rhea.
But yeah, it's just a matter of find the correct topic and just roll with it as much as I can.
Yeah. But, unfortunately for me, and I sort of warned you this before we went live, I haven't played many games lately. That I also sort of mentioned this the first time, that played a lot of games growing up, and I do still play some games, don't get me wrong. That I still very much consider myself a gamer, but just IRL things and schedule and whatnot, that I don't get to play games as much as I used to, that a lot of my game consumption, frankly, comes from watching streams. And I do have a couple every year that I play, but it's been this very interesting sort of paradigm shift, because games have always been a very big part of my life, and they still are. But it's the type of thing that, I haven't really played Helldivers. I never played Phasmophobia, but sometimes little things here and there. Obviously, Pokemon is still a huge one for me, but I still stay afloat of gaming news and just sort of watch things that, I've not played any Fallout games, but I've experienced Fallout games. I haven't played Baldur's Gate, but I've experienced Baldur's Gate, and it's sort of interesting of, in the day and age of streaming, being able to secondhand experience games in a way that technically was possible before, because you could be, sitting on a couch next to a friend as they play a one-player game, but that there's certainly a different environment of that, of watching someone else in the room playing game versus being in the audience or the crowd of chat and sort of as a group watching, because the dynamic is much more energized, and that it's been nice to be able to experience games like that. And even though I don't necessarily play as many each year as I used to, that I'm glad I'm still able to understand, okay, yeah, I've more than just heard the name Baldur's Gate, that I've seen some things, I know the plot, even if I haven't necessarily experienced every single scene end to end, that I know the characters, I know who Astarion is, I know about the Mind Flayers and all this, and it's something I'm very glad that we have.
Yeah, that has been a thing since the Let's Play became a thing too, if you really think about it.
That's very true.
Like, the third-party experience of just watching someone play a game has been a thing since at least the beginning of YouTube, which is a cool thing, because it lets you, like, experience or get to know games that you usually don't know on your daily basis. It basically just lets you know, hey, this game is worth your buy, or this game is not worth it at all. It's kind of like that, and it lets you experience the game before even playing it. In some cases it's good, in some cases you might want to save yourself and just play the game if you already, like, know the series or something.
Oh, I can definitely say that whenever there is one of the games that I know I want to play, that I will do a full media blackout on it, that I do my best to avoid spoilers, and that, for example, when Pokemon Scarlet Violet came out, that, I would check the sidebar on Twitch and see, okay, who's streaming right now? Ooh, I haven't tuned into them in a while. I want to check them out. Oh, they're playing Scarlet Violet right now. Cannot tune into them this week. Sorry, no. I need to finish this game myself before I tune into any streams for that game. And that there are definitely those games, those weeks where I sort of make sure to take note and be like, okay, love this person. I want to tune into them. Can't tune into them right now. I'm going to have to tune into them next week or something once I've beaten this game.
Yeah, it's kind of like that for me too. Like, well, it depends on the games, because myself, I don't play too many like recent releases because I cannot afford them too often, right? I usually look out for indie releases more than AAA releases when it comes to like recent games to play. But I don't let that stop me because I know I'm going to experience the game in some cases will be completely different than actually like playing it myself. Like, yeah, I can watch a stream of Baldur's Gate and spoil on what they are doing, but I know if I choose something different, I know it's going to be different, for example.
Yeah, a full RPG like Baldur's Gate, I feel like, is much easier to tune into and not worry about spoilers just because it is so iterative and that there are so many different paths that can happen, and that just statistically speaking, you probably won't take the exact same path as somebody else. So you can do that versus if it's a more linear game, that's when you're probably going to want to avoid it a little bit more since you know, all right, inevitably the storyline that I experience will be the same. So, but it is a very interesting difference there.
Yeah. It's like playing, for example, Borderlands. Like, you know the story is going to be linear, but it's still a game that you can watch it. But it depends on what they're doing specifically, yeah.
What about you? You mentioned that you've been focusing a bit more on indie games. Any that I should keep an eye out for?
I've been checking out the demo of Berserk Boy before, like, I think 2 weeks before it released it, and honestly, if you like Mega Man X, that thing is a go-to. It's really good.
Berserk Boy?
Berserk Boy, yes.
It's been a while since I played a Mega Man game, but when it comes to Mega Man, the gold standard for me, did you ever play any of the Battle Network games?
No, but I've seen of it and I have friends talking about it, yes.
Oh, they're so good. And they did release the Battle Network collection a while back, and it's obviously a very different type of game from the more traditional Mega Man games, but it's a lot of fun. I definitely encourage it. That it's good. It's got plot. The mechanics are very unique. It's frankly a system that I wish we saw more frequently. That it feels like one of those that could have sort of birthed an entire subgenre. And there are some games that are similar to it. That Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, in the way of that it is a quote unquote deck builder type of game, where you have different cards or power-ups that you use, but it's in a real-time thing, and that at certain points you're able to get access to a random hand of the powers that you have put into the deck, and that it creates the variety in the gameplay that way, and that it's very, very well done. I really wish there were actually more games that use those types of systems.
Funny you mentioned that, because speaking of indie games back a little, there is a little indie game that released on March 7th, like fairly recently, called Duelist of Aiden. It's basically a fighting game, but with the mechanics of Mega Man.exe. But basically,
Duelist of Aiden? Eden.
Eden, yes.
Let's see. Duelist of Eden. Yeah, I'm just looking it up on Steam right now.
Yes.
Oh, yep. Oh, that's Mega Man Battle Network. That's
yes.
it. That's it.
I just remembered.
Okay, that makes me so happy. I'm so happy to see that some folks are still using the system, because I know there's been a couple here and there, but it feels like it's still just such a rarity.
Yeah. I've also been keeping an eye out a lot lately with the indie scene on games in general. Like, I've been looking at fan games for Hololive Girls in general.
Well, a whole bunch had some announcements and sort of updates and trailers just in the past 24 hours, because Hololive HoloFest is going on in Japan right now.
Yeah, they announced an update for Idol Showdown, which it's revealing the new character on Evo Japan, which is soon. If I remember correctly, it's I think next month. Then we have the beat 'em up there. The people who made Holocure are making a beat 'em up now.
Yeah, no, I have some friends that are very excited. We're going to be playing that together. Just the fact that it's going to be online co-op, it's going to be great.
That's going to be so good, yes.
That Holocure actually winds up being a very sort of fun and special one for me, because it was episode 2 of Vtuber Talk. the second episode that I had Cecilia Leroux on the show, and we were talking, and she mentioned that she was working on this fan game, doing some sprite work for a thing that was going to be a fighting game that used HoloLive characters, and that she shared with me an early sprite of Fubuki doing a little tail whip. I got to see and hear about HoloCure a year and a half, almost 2 years before it was released, and she was talking about it, and even now, Cecilia Leroux is the announcer voice that, the ready fight.
Yeah, that's Idol Showdown, not HoloCure.
Idol Showdown. Sorry, flip-flopping. But yes, that she was working on Idol Showdown. That even now she's the voice of Idol Showdown, and it's so cool to see. Obviously, I wasn't able to follow the development all the way through because they did keep a lot of stuff under wraps until it was ready and in the trailer. But that I was always sort of keeping my ear to the ground and knowing, okay, I hope this thing is still in development. I hope it's going to be waiting in the wings. And to see it finally actually get released after so much work, that they put a lot of love into that game. And it was really exciting to see that come to fruition. And I'm really happy that they've been continuing and that they are now actually going to be formally part of the Holo Indie sub-brand.
Yeah, that's another thing that I saw lately. That's actually really interesting, that they are now acting as a publishing house for the indie games. I kind of love that.
Yeah, it's such a cool move because you don't see stuff like that very often, that there's a couple of companies that help facilitate in that way, but it's not super common. But the fact that it's not only that they're able to, work with Cover Corporation on things, but that Cover Corporation has said that there are going to be paths to monetization. Idol Showdown published an announcement recently saying that they have no plans to monetize, even though if they might have that ability, but the ability for fan games to get the support of the things that they are in the fandom of is so special, and I'm very excited to see where they and the other games that are working under Holo Indie will go.
Yeah, me too. Especially, I've been looking at one person that just keeps posting about this Fuamoko platformers in the style of the 64 era platformers. I just like to see
that. Yeah, I saw a couple of those videos. I wasn't sure if those were just animation tests or if they're actually doing a full development cycle on it.
At first, I think it started as an animation project, but then he decided to just, fuck it, let's make a game. I just need people to help me out on this.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes, it is. I just want to see it. I just want to see it and play it. It just seems too fun to not do it.
Yeah, it makes me wonder, will they take sort of a Banjo-Kazooie approach since there is two of them, or is it going to be a bit more Mario 64 that, do you swap between the two and just have it done that way, or maybe they each have a different power and you swap between them? There's a number of ways in terms of actual mechanics that you have access to when you have twin characters like that, so I'm curious to see where they'll go with it.
I mean, it will be interesting that they it looks like a 64 game, but you have the Donkey Kong Country mechanic. Like, you can swap in and out with the two characters you have whenever you want, and you lose one if you get hit. That will actually be interesting to play around with.
If you could design a fan game, what would you want to make, or rather, what would you want to see?
It's already done. I just wanted to make Idol Showdown. I'm a fighting game nerd. Of course I want to make a fighting game. And using Vtubers is just the perfect thing because they have so out there designs that just are perfect for a fighting game or an RPG. It just makes sense.
And it's fun that they put in a lot of details of just, certain memes or jokes that different folks are known for, in addition to the design flavor, obviously. But, I'm sort of scrambling to think a couple off the top of my head, but that, different folks will have, their favorite sayings or funny bits that end up becoming memes in their communities, and that I know that there's been a lot of that baked into Idol Showdown.
I mean, that's I think a thing with every fan game so far. Like Holocure has that too, with the items, the power-ups,
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
name of the weapons, and the achievements. Everything has a reference to the community.
Mm-hmm. It's just it'll be interesting to see how many characters they add, because obviously it takes so much work even for a single one of those. And right now they have, I'm actually on the fan wiki counting 2, 4, 6, 8. They have 10, which is already fantastic. And that it's going to be interesting to see how far they develop that, because they also have collabs on there for sort of the assists. And that obviously, being a fan game, a labor of love, that they're going to be limited in the amount of output that they're going to be able to have. But my guess is, these are probably just some of the favorites of the folks making it, that they're going to be more motivated and more eager to make ones if it's their Oshi, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm guessing they are prioritizing the Japanese talents more, if you really think about it. But yeah, I'm guessing it's just because in terms of like what is the most popular character between the development team.
Yeah.
Which it makes sense. You want to prioritize the things you know the most before doing anything else. And you can still put the others as like collabs, like assists that can help you out. Because those are just basically one move.
Yeah. If you could, or actually, do you have a Hololive Oshi? Is there any talent among them that you particularly resonated with?
Okay, time to get out of the closet for a little bit. So, the thing is, I usually don't watch like big company VTubers or big indie VTubers myself, because I think the cool part on a stream, on a live stream, is the interactivity you can get with the streamer. But but the majority of like big company people and big indies,
when you have an audience of that size, it is not practical or possible for them to really interact with individuals or the stream at large. That they can sort of see, okay, chat is spamming this thing relatively consistently, they can respond to that, but that there's not going to necessarily be the more personal interaction between streamer and viewer. I can understand that, and that's definitely something where early on, that my introduction to VTubers, as many was via Hololive. But then as I started watching indies and smaller folks, as soon as VTuber Talk started up, that my consumption of Hololive content took a very precipitous drop and has stayed very low. That I keep up with the just updates. I'll tune in every so often for a couple of minutes here and there, and it's fun keeping up with them, and it's nice seeing that they're continuing to do so well. But no, I very much understand and identify that it's a very different feel. But it's been very nice to see them continue to succeed on such a high level and have them be sort of the vanguards of VTubing. That I feel it is definitely in good hands with them.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. Like, if I have to pick my favorite out of them, I have to go with Corne. I just every time I see either just a clip or just a portion of a stream of them, it's just so fun. I don't know why, but they're just adorable. I love them.
Yeah. And well, that means that you're in luck, because Corne is in Idol Showdown.
Yes, that's the first character I picked up.
Yeah, that for me it would probably be Callie, that I tuned in for her debut, and that was the first time I tuned in for for a VTuber stream, period. And that is what kicked me down the rabbit hole, as it were. But that in general, like I said, I don't keep up with many of them like super actively and too much, but it's nice glancing in on them and seeing them continue as they have. It's very nice.
That's why clippers are important.
Clippers are great. We love clippers.
Yes, we love you. Thank you for giving us the clips from the talents we cannot watch.
Or the ones that we have a language barrier with. That goodness knows, I would not be able to enjoy any of the JP Talent's content if it weren't for Clippers. That, okay, I might be able to watch if they do something particularly cool or funny in gameplay, but being able to understand what they're saying is a big thing, especially for, the person who likes talking.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm.
It helps a lot. It's having the subtitles for the Japanese talents, it helps a lot. Like, I barely
Yeah.
know English, so trying to understand Japanese is another beast entirely.
Yeah, I taught myself katakana and hiragana a while ago, and I've forgotten most of them. I've, it would be nice to learn Japanese, but also it's a complex language, and kanji scare me.
Mm-hmm.
That, oh, okay, so you have 3 alphabets, and one of them has 4,000 characters. That is just,
Are you? No.
something
No.
like that. It's a lot.
Yeah,
Actually, now I'm
no.
curious. Let's see here. How many kanji are there? The exact number of kanji is unknown, but estimates range from over 50,000 to 85,568. However, most Japanese use about 2,000 kanji in everyday communication. Okay, so only 2,000.
If you want to communicate with the basics. Okay.
Yeah.
What the hell? They have to
Number
have a micro dictionary or something for that. Good lord.
And that's why in Japanese conversation, that part of people's introductions is they'll say, my name is such and such. My name is written with the character for blank because you have multiple characters that are going to create similar sounds or the same sounds. So you actually have to specify, and that actually becomes sort of part of that introduction in conversation.
Oh. Thank you for the sub. I wasn't expecting the scare the shit out of me. Thank you, Ram, for the sub. Appreciate it. Also, yeah, I've seen that. Okay, so one of my favorite animes, which is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, right?
Mm-hmm.
In part 4, you have this character called Yosuke Higashikata, and they play on the joke that the kanji that makes Higashikata can be read as Jo, so they call him Jojo because of that. So they have also kanjis that can mean two things. It's weird.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just Japanese puns are their own just incredible language piece, but then again, English is also just a terrible mutilated language that is a hodgepodge of a million other languages with terrible, terrible inconsistencies in spelling, pronunciation, and grammar. English and Japanese are probably two of the hardest languages in the world to learn for admittedly very different reasons, but it's kind of interesting of just English is just not logical. At the very least, Japanese, even if it has a lot of characters, is a very structured language. And English is just not.
I mean, at least for personal experience, as someone that doesn't have English as a natural language, it's one of the easiest languages I've ever learned. I speak Spanish, which I consider that one of the most complicated in the world to learn, because Spanish has a structure of gender. No, it doesn't have too many gender neutral words, so you have to word things depending on what you're trying to say.
Yeah, I took Spanish for how many years did I take Spanish for? 4 years, I think it was. It was 3 or 4 years of Spanish between middle school and high school, and I was okay at it, but it was a struggle. And yeah, verb conjugations and all of the variants for the genders of different words. It's difficult. It's still a Roman language or a Romantic language in that it has its roots in from Rome, but it is also very difficult, and that I remember very little of that as well. But it's also been many years since I took those classes. Oh God, I don't like how many years it's been since I took those classes.
I mean, you're not forced to learn Spanish, but Yeah, the thing is, when it comes to Spanish, you have to take into account that you have a lot of countries that speak it. Like I will even argue
Mm.
you have more countries that speak Spanish than countries that speak English. And even
As
English in and
the
of
primary
itself,
language, yes.
yes. And even English has been basically the quote unquote universal way of communication between a lot of different countries. Like every
Mm.
time you see an announcement, a trailer, or something from something internationally released, like let's say you have a movie that comes from Malaysia, but you have a trailer for that movie that it's going to release internationally, the first thing they do is make an English trailer for it.
Mm. Yeah,
So,
and that's a symptom of the just sort of the entertainment industry at large. But also, I'm looking up right now by first language speakers. So it's their primary language. Most spoken languages in order: Mandarin Chinese, Spanish, then English. That more people speak Spanish as a first language than English. But if you go by second language, that the most spoken second language is English with 1.077 billion. And then the second most spoken second language drops all the way to 274 million. So
Jesus.
25% of that. And that is modern standard Arabic, followed by Hindi, then French, then Mandarin Chinese, and it doesn't get to Spanish until number 10, where there are 74 million people who speak Spanish as a second language, despite the 485 million who speak it as a first language. Language is interesting.
See, told you, English isn't that hard.
Yeah. Then by total speakers, so people who have it as a first and second language, English is the most spoken language with 1.456 billion, followed by Mandarin Chinese, then Hindi, and then Spanish. But that sort of difference in spread is interesting, and it's also interesting to see how VTubing agencies have also grown in those different languages, because obviously you have the start in Japanese, and that going to English makes the most sense because obviously most second language speakers, and that you see a couple of agencies getting into Spanish. If memory serves, I think Idol is going to be making a Spanish branch at some point.
Yes.
And it's neat to see that different level of proliferation. Makes me wonder, looking at this list now, it makes me wonder, will there be, sort of, well, there's probably already Hindi corporate VTubers in that I'm just not aware of them because I'm not in that language sphere.
Yeah.
But
there
knowing
is
that there's
there
probably
is
going to be
independent. There is independent
folks
VTubers
for, yeah.
on Spanish. I can assure you
Oh
that.
yeah. Well, yes, definitely independent. I'm more talking corporate, and actually, there have been Spanish VTuber corporations. Several have come and gone. They've unfortunately, like, that market has sadly actually had a couple of companies that wound up being not so good, and
Yeah.
really feel bad, frankly, for that community. That it's been a rough go of it on the corporate side.
Okay, so my 2 cents about it, right? Managing talent from, at least when it comes to different countries that speak Spanish, you have to take into account that you're dealing with multiple completely different economic systems, and
Yeah.
each talent is going to make you different revenue just because of the region they live on, have different way of paying them, if that makes
Yeah.
any sense. So, for example, you want to open an EN, like an ES branch, right? You have to settle on just one country, because managing people from like at least 5 or 6 different countries, it's going to take a lot of coordination, a lot of international economical knowledge, and let's just say a lot of different like Spanish language you need to learn, because each country also has different modisms and
dialects.
words and dialects that you need to be familiar with so that you can understand them and not make the talents feel too forced to use neutral Spanish. Because the neutral Spanish is a thing. that has been a thing on like Latin American dubs since the beginning. So there are some voice actors that break the mold on that, but all in all, they stay on neutral, so they don't alienate every single country they deliver the voice acting for.
Language is weird. Language is cool, but it's also it's so complex in that it is literally the fact that it is the basis of most communication is just it's very fascinating to see how that all plays, and that, like you mentioned, the different variants that you have therein, different dialects, and then different economic systems, and just different legalities depending on the country. There's a lot that goes into it, and that I just hope that, I hope that we eventually reach a point where every language, every region has, a good handful of a good VTuber corporations for those who wish to pursue corporate path with their content, and that obviously, fortunately, if you want to do independent, you can do that.
Yeah, fortunately you can, and I actually appreciate that, because there is a lot of like new talent that are coming up from the Spanish sea, but usually they stay on their line and stay over there. Very rarely you will see a Spanish talent branch out and try to do English content. And when they do, they usually just make a separate channel for it, because mixing up English and Spanish is complicated.
Oh yeah, especially for content creators to be multilingual, that you sort of either need to start there, I feel, or like you said, you have to find a way to integrate it into things, and sometimes the answer is just to make a separate channel that, when it comes to some of the Hololive girls, especially in the Indonesian branch, that they just go trilingual, and that is sort of set from day one. Okay, I'm going to be trilingual. You're going to have to sort of accept that there might be times that you don't understand, but I'll probably translate it very quickly into the other languages. I think they are some of just, it's so incredible how they're able to flip-flop and keep all three of the languages, the people who are watching, engaged, because it's something that not many content creators and streamers have to deal with. But the fact that they're able to adapt to that, and that it has to be a lot of work, but they make it work.
It is a lot of work. Like in my case, I don't mind translating from English to Spanish in the moment. I just think it's going to be way too taxing. Like to do that over a whole stream, even if it's a 2-hour, 1-hour stream, that's going to take a really bad hit on my mental once I finished.
Yeah, I'm hoping that there are certain live translation programs that exist. There's even stuff that Henya. Or wait, it wasn't. Was it Henya? No, it wasn't Henya. It was poof. I'm blanking on the name. But that one of the Japanese Bishoujo talents had someone effectively live translating, and that they actually developed a special OBS plugin specifically for this person who was just live translating her dialogue, her talking, and that way it wasn't actually done as machine translation, but to have a plugin where someone on another computer, however far away from the actual streamer, is able to live be typing and have that immediately appear on stream on the overlay. That not everyone is going to be able to do that and have that technology, or frankly just have someone accessible to be live translating. But hopefully, that we'll be able to get tech to a point where we have more reliable and robust live translations. And we already do have it. That if you have you ever used the Google Translate app?
No, because I've learned that that's not a good translator.
Well, that's the thing. It used to not be a pretty good translator about 5-7 years ago. Nowadays, Google Translate, at least for, I've used it for English to Japanese a fair bit, and it is surprisingly reliable. That if you haven't used it in a while, I actually would encourage you to check it out.
I also have the belt on hand if I need to translate something.
Yeah. But I've had full conversations that, you download the app on your phone and you tap the different settings of, okay, I want to translate from English to Japanese, and that you can then hit the record button on your phone and just speak into it and say, hello, I am looking for the train station or whatever. And it will immediately translate into Japanese, show that, and that you can then, hold it up to somebody who speaks Japanese but not English. And that I've had entire conversations of back and forth between Google Translate, and it worked, and it was really cool. And just to have that in a pinch, that if we can get that as something that works in OBS,
Ooh.
that the technology is already like 90% there, and that the translations continue to improve a lot. That I wouldn't use it for official translations on media or something, but in terms of live translation for something like a stream, I'm interested to see where that goes in terms of technological accessibility for the average streamer. Because if we can get plugins or just different things that even if it's a web browser source, that okay, go to the website, set the thing to what you want it to do, and then you put the browser source, and that it just populates the translation on what is technically a web page, but since you're getting the browser source, it will then just appear on your overlay. That I'm just sort of spitballing here of how technology could go, but I think and hope that we're going to get that in the next couple of years.
I mean, if it helps you out, I've been trying to, for example, get some of my Twitch docs back, because for some reason they disappear, right? So what I did was literally just went to my stream manager, pop out some of the things I needed, copy the link, and just paste it on the docs, and that worked. So it's not that far-fetched what you're saying.
Yeah, and I know there's already a couple of subtitling things for just English to English subtitles, not translation or anything, but subtitle generation has been a thing for many years. That television, broadcast television, has used that for decades at this point, and that the technology has gotten significantly better over time. And I actually need to remember to hook up that plugin to my own channel, because I had it for a while, couldn't get it to work for some reason. Note to self. Actually, I'm just going to take a note right now.
Might as well. Might as well.
Plugin. There we go. Yeah. Are there any things for your stream that you've been looking to innovate or change up, whether it be just, different overlay assets or overall operations?
I mean, I've been wanting to rework a little bit of my background here. As you can see, this background is already 2 years old, and I think it will be a nice thing to just, give it a rest and make something a little bit more. I don't know. It looks like an empty warehouse, if that makes any sense.
Help! He's got me trapped in this brick room. I can't escape, chat. Help!
That's the funny thing. We're both trapped here. It's just 4 walls. There's no door. There's
well, no.
roof,
There's 3 walls. There is no 4th wall.
Right. There is no 4th wall. But yeah, I will. I am not the kind of guy to just look for innovation. I just want something that works and makes me happy, Like this little dog over here. I can make him talk and stuff, and I'm happy with that. I would like to get new backgrounds, yes, but also I don't have the money nor resources to get one. So I'm just running with what I have so far. I'm not in a rush, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that for the first 3 years of VTuber Talk, I had effectively the same overlay from day one, and it was just free assets that I was able to find, scrape together, that I got the transitions and the opening and closing screens from one place, and I got the city skyline background that was my main screen from another. Hodgepodged the frame that I would put the guest in from the thing that had the transitions and whatnot, then had a custom thing that I used as top and bottom bars. That it was just, I said, VTuber Talk was held together with cardboard and duct tape. That was the whole thing. And that, for a talk show, you're able to do that. It doesn't matter that if you're able to have something a little bit nicer, that's nice. But, what you have here is totally passable. But at the same time, I do understand the desire to, upgrade eventually, and that for the 3rd year anniversary that, along with this model that I did just the full overhaul, I sort of, the way that the model actually came about, I'm not sure if you know that it was a sort of expansion off of a reward from the 2nd anniversary charity marathon.
Oh.
That
Wait.
the last goal that we reached in the 2nd anniversary charity marathon, because I was running out of ideas. We had reached $6,000, which was just phenomenal. And I said, okay, chat, I planned different rewards and milestones. I didn't actually write something down for the $7,000 milestone. So let's figure something out here. Just start throwing out ideas. What do you want from me? I'm feeling very agreeable right now. We've raised an incredible amount of money for charity. What would you like if we can raise another $1,000 before we end? And somebody said, make a mascot. I was like, sure, I can do that. I can find an artist, commission an artist, and we'll get a VTuber Talk mascot. Sure, fine, if we raise another $1,000. And we raised another $1,000.
Oh.
And that naturally, when the time came of, okay, what would I want in a mascot for my show, that the concept of a microphone was basically instant, that there was never really a question, because I'm not going to have a lion or a dog be the mascot for a talk show called Vtuber Talk. It just, nothing else made sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And he's actually here in the chat earlier, not sure if he's still around, but Captain Krabs. I was thinking, okay, if it's gonna be, a mascot, I want it to be chibi. I want it to be cute. I want it to be fun.
That's why you look familiar.
Yeah, this is a Captain Krabs original, baby.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, because your microphone, it looks a lot like Krabs.
Yep, that it's the same eyes that he uses on most of his models. Specifically requested, it was like, well, what happened was, he did not have commissions open for a while, and just like, okay, that's fine. I'll be looking around. After a bit of searching, I couldn't find anybody whose style really spoke to me, so I did the classic thing of went on Twitter, and I did the smart thing. If you ever are looking for commissions on Twitter, never type it out, because the bots will be upon you instantly.
Yeah, I prefer looking for the shadows.
And what you need to do is you type it out on a Word document or notepad, screenshot that, and share the image. Just, because the bots...
It's kind of like you're trapped on a building. You need to send a message, but you have a whiteboard. Just write on it and show it on the window.
Whiteboard. Exactly. So I put up a little thing who's just like, looking to commission somebody for a model, chibi-styled, preferred... suggestions appreciated. And not 20 minutes after I post that tweet, Captain Krabs replies and was like, hey, I opened my commissions. And I just sort of stopped and was like, wait, you reopened your commissions? I DM'd him and I was like, you reopened? He was like, yeah, I reopened them just the other day. And I took the tweet down. I took the tweet down immediately. I was like, well, you're the one I wanted to begin with. That the search is over. This is
easy.
Done. And I went in with the idea of, I'd like a little microphone, have a little suit and tie type of thing. And he came back with this. He was the one that included the headset sort of bracket here, which I absolutely adored. And that the only changes we really wound up making was like the color of the tie was shifted. I asked for a couple experimental variants on how the dots of the microphone were done. And the big challenge was initially he was thinking of having it be, some broadcast microphones are sort of rectangular, that they have the flat sides and the flat facing front.
Mm-hmm.
And that I didn't really like the way that it looked when I turned. And it was like, I prefer a cylindrical microphone. And he very graciously put in the extra work to make that happen, and it was done from there. Actually, I need to back up that it was initially just the image for the mascot, and when I saw that, I was like, this is very cute. I like this a lot. I never actually. I knew in the back of my head when I got the mascot, what was going to be the mascot, that I'd never had inspiration for a VTuber model before, but there was something in the back of my head that said, okay, if I really, really like this mascot model, maybe this would be the model, this would be the time, this would be the design, maybe. And even though I was entirely confident in Captain Crab's ability to make a mascot that I would like, I wasn't sure if it would resonate on a level where I said I could see myself piloting that. He showed me even the first draft, and I was like, oh no, oh no, oh no, this might be it. Is it happening? And by the time we got to the final design, he even asked, he was like, would you like it rigged? And I said, I need to sit on it. I need to sit on it for a little bit. I need to decide, because if I'm going to do this, I want to do it right. And I want it to be something, a design that I am confident having for a significant amount of time. I'm not interested in doing, would there eventually maybe be a redesign? Maybe. I'm never going to say never, but I needed to know it was something that I was excited to have for an indefinite period of time. So I actually waited for like 2-3 months to get back to him, because fortunately, there were so many different charity marathon rewards. People forgot which ones had been achieved. Nobody ever actually, asked me. It was like, hey, Jay, when are you going to get around to that mascot design? When's that going to happen? Nobody asked me. So I really had all the time in the world. And that I decided, okay, I'm going to debut this at the 3rd anniversary. So I've got, at that point, 3-4 months still. Or it was like 6 months when the initial mascot design was done. Plenty of time. And I was like, okay, so I'm going to sit on this, wait 2-ish months, and, think about it, let the newness of the design sort of wear off for me, and then ask myself the question again in 2 months. And I did, and I still said, oh no, I do still like this a lot. So I went back to Krabs and said, you know what, let's do this thing. Let's do this. Let's get this rigged. And that was when the concept went from a flat side microphone to the round one. We went a couple rounds just of getting a couple of the rigging tweaks done. And Krabs is a very, very talented rigger. And that every time I went to him with a thing of just like, hey, having this issue, that he would always have something turned around for me like within 2 days max. And then once we finally got, like a couple of the mouth shapes as it needed to be, that was it. But then in terms of overall design and basic rigging, that, he had the side-to-side sway done from day one. He totally understood the assignment, and it was very nice. And then from there, I had a couple other guests who do their own model designs. And I'd always told myself, it was like, oh man, I love Strawberry's Pipsqueak models. They're so freaking cute. Oh my gosh. She started making them like a year ago, and was like, man, if I ever got a model, I totally would want one of those, but I don't have a model, so whatever. But then when I had this, I was like, well, if I'm doing this, maybe I could, I'll reach out to Strawberry and was like, hey, so there's a thing happening. Would you potentially be able to do a Pipsqueak model? This is a weird design. It doesn't have arms and legs. So this inherently, this is a offbeat design. This is going to be literally breaking the mold for anyone who's doing something. But she said, yeah, I can do that. That it's different, and I'll have to change a couple of things. But this isn't impossible. This isn't going to be an unreasonable amount of extra work. I can do this for you. And I was like, let's do this. So,
oh my god! I love it! What the hell? What?
That Strawberry's Pipsqueak models are so adorable. I love them so much. She was even able to do like custom emotes. This one was actually based off of Animal Crossing, which I mentioned last time. All-time favorite. Well, not like the all-time favorite, but one of my all-time favorites in terms of just gaming franchises. She has like 10 standard emotes that come with her model. 10! just sort of included. It's absurd. It's so good.
How much? Okay, let's talk about price. How much did you pay for this?
Oh my gosh, they were all so reasonable. That they all obviously had their stuff on their website. Crabs that I'm gonna say because it's the publicly posted prices.
Mm-hmm.
The Crabs one that for art, rigging, whole suite and everything, that it was $1,000, which totally reasonable.
I mean, yeah, you have a lot of emotes with it, so yeah, no, that's totally reasonable.
Strawberry's Pipsqueaks, I think she finally increased her price to $300.
Good lord.
It's just like they're so good that this one costs extra because it was a very custom thing, but she has the crying ones, she has the angry eyes, she has a wig snatch for all of her models, but I don't have hair, so there was no hair to snatch. But she included it anyways.
Basically, just remove the part that makes a microphone a microphone.
Yeah. So I have
your microphone.
The shiny chrome dome.
You're just phone.
Mm-hmm. And I'm actually checking that Strawberry's VGen that she has waitlist now that he's been doing so well. They're like starting at $200. I think she increased them to $250. I don't know, but they're entirely reasonable. Really, the biggest challenge for getting these folks is just their time because they're very busy. And then the other one, it was sort of fortunate on my end. The other guests of mine in the past that I knew did different offbeat models that they do spin-offs is Pompino and Crowfoot, who do the art and rigging respectively for what they call their wobbly Matryoshka models. And I had already sort of known, okay, those are the two side models I want. I want a Strawberry Pipsqueak and I want a Pumpy Crowfoot wobbly. And as luck would have it, Pumpy posted basically the week that I had this in mind saying, hey, commissions are open back up, looking for new folks. If you're interested, reach out. And I was like, oh, hey, Pumpy. And
what the fuck?
Yeah. That these are wobbly.
Yeah, I love the fact that you have Rayman eyes, that you can just detach that. I love it.
Yeah, the eye tracking on this is phenomenal.
Yeah, I see that. Literally, I see that. It's so good. What the hell?
Yeah, and that this one came with a bunch of other emotes of just the Starry Eyes excited. It's been so fun, and being able to finally sort of jump into the VTuber realm myself. Like I said, I never considered it an impossibility, but I was very comfortable.
I mean,
being a disembodied voice for 3 years. I had the design for the microphone been just, like I said, not resonated with me, and it wouldn't have been a comment at all on the quality that Krabs had for the design, but just, there was a very realistic chance of, okay, this is an amazing, amazing mascot. Totally love it. Gonna start using it in like my promo images and whatnot. Maybe even as a PNG, but I don't necessarily see it as a model that I would pilot, but that this one did it. This one did it. And it's been very fun being able to certainly emote literally and figuratively more than I was able to prior. And that I'm just beyond pleased with all three. So, if you are ever looking for designs like these, and they do obviously human designs as well. They normally do human designs, all three of them. I'm the oddity in their portfolio. But Captain Krabs, Strawberry, and Pumpino / Crowfoot, that they work together as a team. All three just phenomenal, super easy to work with, very reasonable prices. They had very reasonable turnaround times that, you hear these terrible horror stories of people being ghosted by artists, Never had an issue. Never had an issue. Like, the most I would have to wait is like maybe somebody would get busy for a week or something. But as soon as I would follow up and they'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I've been busy. But it was all totally reasonable and highly, highly recommended. All three folks, or well, four folks, all three models, just incredible people to work with and couldn't be happier.
Nice. Question. Do you have the credits for these people on your about page, right?
Oh, I absolutely do.
Hell yeah! Then, if you guys also want to check them out, !TG, it will give you.
Yeah.
It will give you the access to Vtuber Talks Twitch channel, which you can also click by clicking on the tag on the title of the stream. But might as well check it out.
And I'd also gotten overlays done. That's actually sort of how this conversation came about, that you were mentioning getting overlays and that I had the same ones for 3 years. But when I was getting the models, I was like, I think, well, one, the initial overlay I had was not built to facilitate a model. That since I was just a disembodied voice, I had all of the screen space being taken up by other things. There was not going to be a place for, this little guy to exist. So I already knew baseline there was going to have to be some change, but I was also sort of telling myself, all right, we're at 3 years, and if I'm already doing all of this, getting a new model, let's go all the way. New overlays, new notifications, new things, and that I searched around for a long time. That finding a artist I liked for the overlays and everything, that was frankly more difficult than finding VTuber artists and riggers, because like I said, I knew what I wanted and fortunately sort of had the answers because they were all my past guests. I knew exactly what they could do and I knew I liked and wanted those styles. But finding an overlay artist, I agonized over that for a while.
Yeah, no, that's another different beast entirely, because if you really think about it, not so many artists focus on the background.
No, and also that for someone like me, and in this case for you, doing a talk show overlay, that most folks design for gameplay and that they design just chatting streams, but their just chatting overlays are designed for one person, not two. That you usually see these things where the chat is sort of taking up about a third to 40% of the screen, and the rest is for the VTuber, but that it's the overall structure of a just chatting stream or just chatting overlay for two people is very different than it would be for one person. And so I wasn't able to find someone that, sort of specialized in two-person overlays. So I went back and forth for a bunch of folks that I saw who did one-person overlays and others that I liked. And just along with the request was like, hey, I've got some slightly different needs. This is, what I do. This is what I need. I like your style a lot. Would you be willing to work with me on this slightly offbeat concept? And I got just really, really lucky that the first person I reached out to, Reunix, responded very promptly and said, yeah, can totally do that. Not a problem at all. And we went back and forth a couple times on the designs, but that they were able to get just incredible overlays, and that they were so patient and willing to work with me on different concepts that we were able to find what we wanted for the basic overlays very quickly. That the first draft I got for them, I said, I see where you're going with this. I don't like it, frankly. That it's quality. It's good quality. What you did was amazing. And this is just it. This is not my style or taste. Could we try this and this? Here's one more reference. Here's sort of a feel. And that as soon as they had that, they got that feedback. Second one was it. They got it. They just and that I think is one of the biggest things for an artist who's doing commissions. Not necessarily that do they need to have their gut instinct to be perfect 100% of the time? No. But their ability to then sort of pivot and take the feedback of the client, that's to me what a really good commission artist that's the mark of a good commission artist. And boy, did they were so good that the only thing that was a bit more complex was the transitions. And they were, like I said, so patient, working with me on a couple of different iterations and details to the point where I was like, hey, like, if you need me to pay a bit extra for the additional draft sets, I will do that. But they were very kind. We found ones that I liked, and it's just great. They're also in the credits. And I used VGen for that. VGen is just, I'm so happy to see that as part of the community now. VGen is a great platform.
Yeah, that helps a lot when it comes to reaching out for commissions specifically. It does the kind of the same thing as Ko-Fi, but this is more VTuber centric. Like, if you want VTuber stuff, that's the way to go.
It's the best. The prices are reasonable, and that they take a 5% cut flat, and just that's their operating thing. They need to charge that to be able to run. But that you're able to find so many incredible artists, and whether it's emotes or everything from models and rigging that I when I was initially thinking that Captain Krabs didn't have his commissions open, I glanced over there because that was where I went first, and I hope it continues to grow because I think there's a lot of really good artists there already, and I'm very happy to see it become sort of the VTuber asset commissioning hub. That they're doing a great job there.
Yeah.
I'm actually curious. What about your little guy? First off, the dog here. Does he have a name?
Sasu, yes.
Sasu.
So the idea of a mascot came to me just because I just felt like I will need something else on screen, right? To kind of accompany me and also like be a little contrast to me. So I decided, why not? I give the idea of a mascot a shot. And that's how this little guy came to be. Sasu, it's basically just a robot dog a la Godark or Blade Wolf from Metal Gear, right? But the idea is that this is a scout dog. It specializes on collecting stuff. That's why.
Oh yeah, because you got the little backpack on there and the claw to pick things up. I love that. Yeah.
That's basically the idea of this mascot. There's not too deep about it yet. I had it on my mini debut stream I did, like, I think on December last year. So I had this little guy for a long time now, and funny enough, the artist who made Sasu was also on chat. Rhea made this.
Oh, Rhea.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice job.
Yeah, this is a great job, and I absolutely adore it.
I love that it has the passive blinking.
Oh yeah, that was my doing.
That's very nice. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
that little bit of motion gives so much life.
Yes, I've noticed that it will be a little bit too like a PNGs, which it will be too much of an asset like a table. So I figure might as well give it a little bit more life with the blinking animation.
Yeah,
and that's that.
Mm.
But yeah, in my case, when it comes to a model, well, technically, since my channel in and of itself is not focused on the show, right? The idea of my model is that I can be whatever I want, right? The original idea of the show is that I will have a different costume or model depending on the guest, but then I dropped that idea because, one, it will take me a lot of time to think of a new idea, and reusing assets I kinda didn't like to do, so I figured might as well just go with what I have and change the type of model I use. I use a PNG, a Live 2D, or a 3D model depending on what I want to do. Since I already have one of each at least, and might as well go for it, right? And yeah, that's pretty much the idea of myself as an avatar. When it comes to the talk show itself, I don't know how can I change this? Like, this is perfect. I have a space for my guests, a space for me, and the dog in the middle accompanying chat on the top. That's perfect. When it comes to your show, for example, I don't know, but I always thought if you ever got an avatar, you will go for a Space Ghost from Coast to Coast type of like layout for the show. you have your little desk, your little chair over on the right, and then you have a monitor for your guests on the left. I thought
I could see that.
I thought that would be a good layout for you, but if you find out already what makes you happy on that, perfect, way better.
Yeah, because I had effectively used a Space Ghost from Coast to Coast layout initially, that prior to having my own model, because I had the guest appearing in a frame, in a screen. But when I was getting my own model, I sort of chose, okay, do I want to continue with that? Because I could, but since I wanted to have the talk show layout, I decided I wanted to actually sort of be in the same space as the guest. That way we could do, if there was the opportunity for silly shenanigans, and having, us be quote unquote in the same space allowed for different potential silly things. Whereas if they are quote unquote on a separate screen, I have to keep that inherent separation. So that's where that came from. And that there was also the choice of, do I want to have the couch? Because you see that a lot in, certainly for real talk shows, but also for overlays. And the problem that I had was, there is not currently at this time a good way to make it look like a VTuber is sitting on a couch. We do not have that technology yet.
I mean, I barely managed to make people sit on these chairs, and that's very far-fetched. But
yeah,
and
that Ryu made the couch asset for the starting screen and ending screen overlays, and I was like, I love the couch as just, it is an iconic thing for talk shows as a whole.
Yeah.
But I don't think I want it on the just chatting stream. But we don't need anything else. That we can just remove it, and that people will be sort of standing. That for me, I felt that was a bit more natural. But that's going to be something interesting of over time as tech improves and 3D becomes more common, and just tracking of. I think that's going to be one of the big things of when we have proper sitting tracking being something that's common, that you can then have as part of the overlay someone to be appearing sitting on something, or when we are more equipped for shared virtual spaces remotely. And it's one thing if, you have two folks that are using motion capture in the same studio, that you can have them sit there, but we don't right now have a lot of very easy ways to do that virtually. That you can probably do that in VR chat, but there's not a lot of easy ways to do that. But
also that
in 10 years,
motion capture.
Yeah, but I feel like in 10 years we're probably going to have that. With how quickly the technology is evolving and becoming accessible, my guess is in 10 years we will be able to have those shared VR spaces be something that just anyone can do, and that tracking will be at the point where we're already really far along with tracking, where you have these accessible consumer level products like Mokopi, and there's several others out there where it's just these little trackers. You no longer need the big open studio space and $10,000 rigging and motion capture suits to do something, and now it's just sort of splicing things together. That is the next step, but I'm very confident we will get there.
Yeah, pretty much, and also will depend on the type of model the person has. Because I know a few people that already have a toggle for a sit-down type of stance for the models. And I certainly can do that with just playing around with Unity and my 3D model, but yeah, it's a pretty common thing on live 2D models that they are pretty stiff in the sense that they are just standing there. You can have different animations for the upper body, which is the portion most people will see. That's kind of the reason why I just have a chair behind me and half of my model showing, because I know I am just going to be standing up, but at least I want to give the illusion that I am sit down, or that I can sit down.
Yeah. Frankly, I feel like I get off easy by not actually having feet and just sort of being a standing mic. That you put me on a box like this and boom, you're set. I can't sit regardless, or technically I'm always sitting. I don't know. Either way.
I mean, Yeah, you could say you're always sitting because you
Yeah.
have already your seat carrying you.
Mm,
So it kind of makes sense like that.
yeah. Sorry, not sorry. I've completely diverted this away from gaming.
It's okay. We love that here. No worry about it.
Mm,
Plus, we managed to fill out the hour of the show, so we are good.
oh yeah, no. It, getting me to talk for an hour, that's easy mode. This is my warm up for later in the day.
Oh yeah, which
But
yeah.
for you, are there any games that you're like looking forward to right now? Anything that you're waiting to see come out?
Right now, I honestly don't know. I'm waiting just for some announcement that just lift me off my chair because the games that I've been waiting for sorta have already released, like Tekken 8, Persona 3 Reloaded. Those are already out. I don't care too much about Final Fantasy to be
Mm,
waiting for that one. But yeah, I'm just here. I'm just vibing, waiting for the game that I want to play.
yeah. One of the ones that's really high up on my list that we sadly don't have any real information on. It's on the playlist. I don't know what's playing right now because I'm not listening live, and I know you put it on shuffle.
Mhm.
But Professor Layton and the New World of Steam. I forget if it had been announced when I was on your show last, but just that one got me when they had it. It was part of a Nintendo Direct last year, probably around this time actually, and it was like the only title in the entire direct that didn't have a release date. But I'm not sure how familiar you are with the Professor Layton series, but it's been a decade since we've had a mainline Professor Layton installment, and that I and many others had sort of assumed, okay, the series has been sunset. Maybe it'll get revived later. We don't know, but to see it just sort of come out of nowhere was absolutely amazing. I got choked up. It was seeing an old friend, and even though it was this brief 30-second teaser trailer, just him walking down the street and the title reveal, no date
Oh.
at all. It was just, in development that new Professor Layton is coming. That was the announcement of the direct for me, and that I made a point to actually look up reaction videos on YouTube. I love watching game trailer reaction videos. That
Yeah, me too.
it's so fun seeing people get excited and hyped, and everyone of just, especially for trailers that are unexpected or announcements that are unexpected, seeing the moment that they realize what's happening, because usually announcements will be sort of mysterious at first, and then they have the big reveal moment, but then the diehard fans sometimes see it in advance, that they see the clues, they see these subtle things in the
Yeah.
trailers, or you might see it was like, wait a minute, is this? No, this couldn't be. Oh my gosh, it is. Or someone will call it right off the bat, like, oh my gosh, this is the thing. This is actually the thing. It's happening. It's happening. And this particular trailer was very subtle. It starts with a far off shot of a big street in sort of a steampunk city, and that you see walking down the street Professor Layton from behind, and that he has a relatively iconic silhouette. That he has the big top hat and everything, but that without context or expectation, all right, your eyes are sort of drawn to the big steamships around the city, and there's a couple other people walking down the street. So while if you're looking for Layton, you can pick him out in an instant. In that moment, not everyone's looking for him. So you have a couple people who's like, oh, okay, so this is steampunk. But there are a couple who see it earlier on as they're slowly panning in. It was like, wait a minute, is that Professor Layton? Oh my God, that's Professor Layton. And I'll even send you a couple after the show. Just it was a very special one.
Yeah.
Another all timer for me was the Final Fantasy VII remake trailer. I'm not even a big Final
Ooh.
Fantasy VII fan myself, but it was 2014, I think, when they had that
Oh.
reveal, and that
Yeah, yeah,
I remember
I remember that
like
too. That
it-
was a really huge moment
Mhm.
because
and
that was
they
teased a
had
long
these
time ago.
yeah, and they had these different hints and things where if you were a diehard fan, you might recognize some of the Shinra buildings, or you might recognize the park. But that for most people, the big reveal was not until the end of this, minute and a half trailer, where they show Cloud's Buster Sword on his back as he's walking into a thing. and that was the big reveal moment. But others sort of saw it happening, and one of my all-time favorite trailer reactions. I forget the group that it was. It might have actually just been the group from Game Trailers. That it's 4 people in a studio sitting at a desk, and one of these people just sort of climbs up on his stool and is just like, why? Like you see him becoming a child again in that moment, and it's a like I love watching people experience those moments of joy, and that even if it's a game that I'm not familiar with myself, that if I know that there's been a big announcement, that I will look up the reactions just to see, people just having those moments and being excited.
That's
But
kind of what I love of like video game trailers. They just so
mm,
good in some cases, and they can lead to some really funny and hype moments. Like the Smash Bros. Trailers, for example. Those are
oh yeah,
key, like primo material for those kinds of reactions. I still
yeah,
tear up
they
just
just
watching the Banjo Kazooie one. Damn it, that's
oh
a really good one.
I have a dear friend who had been campaigning for Banjo Kazooie for years, and was just heartbroken when they weren't in Smash 4, and that they, every time there was a new character being teased, it was like, is this going to be the one? Will we finally get Banjo? And then when he finally got it, like he sent me a recording of him crying, like actual, like no joke. That Banjo is his favorite game series of all time. It is so near and dear to his heart, and that as soon as I saw the announcement myself, my first thought went to this guy, this friend, just like, oh, he's having such a happy day right now. And that sure enough, like an hour later, he sends me that file, that recording of him just like sobbing, so happy. And that I love it when people are able to get that. And that for Smash, that certainly a lot of people reacted that way for Banjo Kazooie. There was a whole bunch that when they finally got Sora in at the end, and whether it's a sequel, a remake for games, that there's such a unique joy for people when they are able to get that, because you see people get super excited and emotional for movies, but games are interactive, that they are experiences that you share, and that it inherently lends itself to a deeper emotional resonance when you are able to participate in the media in a way that you simply can't for music alone or movies alone. And goodness knows, games are a hybrid of all these, that they have the music, they have the motion, but then there's also the actual interactive part of it all. And that is what, in my opinion, creates these truly beautiful, visceral reactions when people are seeing, oh, we're getting a sequel, we're getting the continuation or the conclusion to this story that I've been waiting on, or, oh my gosh, I thought I wasn't going to be able to share a story with this character again, and now I can. And like that's for me and Professor Layton, or just, oh, I get to explore this world again of, whenever we get a new Pokemon, that even if it's not necessarily a bunch of returning characters, that I get to go back to this world. I get to experience and explore this world again. And it's such a special, exciting thing.
Yeah, I can actually see that for the new Pokemon Legends one. Like, going back to a region that, if I'm being honest, hasn't been explored too much since back then with X and Y. It's a really interesting thing going back to that. To that specific. I don't remember the name of the region, but still. I kind of like the fact that we're getting a sequel to Pokemon X and Y in a way.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one. Just, I love the Arceus games, or Legends Arceus, and I've been saying basically since that one released, I want another. And my initial thought / wish had been, okay, I want Legends Legends Celebi in Old Johto, or Legends
yes.
Mew in Old Kanto. That Celebi and Johto in particular, because Celebi is literally a time travel Pokemon, that this writes itself. That if you're going to do that as a core piece of the Legend series, because with a single game you don't know, is this going to be
A recurrent thing.
is this their recurring thing, or is this just their first iteration? Because at that point it is a single data point, not a line, not a trend. So sort of thing, okay, usually you would think this is going to be in the past. And so Celebi, already a time travel Pokemon, super easy. Mew, it's able to do a lot of stuff. You can easily hand wave and say that it is sending you to the past, and that those two being the most recognized regions simply because they are the oldest, that it felt like that was sort of the logical place to go. That my guess that while I love Johto, and I think that in terms of lore, Johto is very close after Sinnoh in terms of the depth of its lore. I felt like Kanto was probably where they were going to go because that's the mainstream one. That's what most people know, and that's okay. And that certainly having had so many things in Kanto, that there's a lot to work with there, and that I would love to explore and see. The founding of Lavender Town. Before there was the Pokemon Tower, getting just the starting of this small graveyard.
Yeah.
Small graveyard for Pokemon, or getting to go to Vermilion City and seeing early ship trade, getting to go to, anything from Cinnabar Island, where it's just a small village. It's not inhabited, and obviously this is even before the eruption, of seeing it start off, or any of those places. The founding of Ekrutik City, the Tin Tower, that I figured if they did Johto, I'm not sure how much Pokemon lore you're familiar with.
Yeah, when it comes to the Pokemon games, funny enough, Gen 2 is my favorite. I love Johto, but when it comes to the Legend series, I think Johto has the more material to work with. Not just because of Celebi, but also because of Ho-Oh and Lugia and the legendary dogs. You have a lot of story there.
Being able to get to see the burned tower before it's burned. That maybe you go back in time, and part of the climax of the game is you see the burned tower being burned. You see it being set ablaze. You see the legendary dogs becoming petrified, and actually getting to experience that moment that we've heard of in these games, but that they were legends, that they are in the past, and getting to actually see these historical events unfold, and perhaps even realizing, maybe your actions played a hand in completing the timeline, fulfilling a prophecy, as it were. But
the first sighting of Celebi, for example, to becoming a legend. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I'm very excited to see where they go with what is it? X
CA, like with the set.
ZA. Thank you.
Yeah, that seems to be the origin of the whole city, like how was constructed and everything. It looks
it's not 100% clear, because it says it's on this sort of parchment-esque paper, which seems old, but it said urban redevelopment. Redevelopment, and then the other part of the trailer had, the blue wireframes. It's sort of a futuristic look. So I can't tell, is this redevelopment, the city being brought into the modern era, that, you're sort of starting at the village phase where you would have in Legends Arceus, and updating it to modern, and, seeing skyscrapers? Or is this, all right, maybe the big weapon from X and Y got fired, and that they have to rebuild the city? That is this an alternate timeline? Is this something where it is quote unquote present day, and they're bringing it into the future? It either is possible, but also just the fact that it's going to be all in this single city, that it is going to be a truly urban Pokemon experience, that caught me off guard. Because initially I figured, okay, this will be just the Kalos region, similar to what we had for Sinnoh. But the idea of spending it all in one city, in some ways, like, my initial reaction was, I don't know if I like that, because I want to explore the whole region. I want to see all these different locales, but at the same time, you're able to do a lot of environmental diversity in a city, that you can have the big bustling main street. You can have the sort of sketchier, darker back alley areas. You can have the fashion district. You can have, the economic district or whatever. And I'm very curious to see how they are going to keep things fresh and approach it. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking if they go for the past, like for the idea of putting back to the reconstruction or remodelation of the whole city in the past, we could get like a Victorian setting for it.
Ooh, I hadn't even considered that because I didn't get that vibe from any of the visuals,
Me
but I
neither.
would not mind like a Renaissance era Pokemon game. That is such a cool idea. I don't think we're gonna get it, but now I want it.
Yeah, me too. Like, if you really think about it, every region, at least as far as we know, right? Every region is based on a real life place. You have Unova
Yes.
that is based on America. You have Kalos that I think it's based on France.
Man.
So
Yeah.
if we go to the past on that area, don't you think it will resemble the past of France, aka the Renaissance era?
Interesting. Yeah. Oh, I hadn't even considered that.
Yeah, no, that's the thing
Ooh.
I've been thinking, because since Legends Arceus is technically based on Sinnoh in the past, which is already based on
Mhm.
Japan, we got a
Mhm.
feudal Japan era
Ooh,
technically.
Japan.
So it will make sense if we go back to the past in this one and we go back to the Victorian era of the
That's
Victorian.
a very good point. Ooh.
Yeah, just thinking about it makes me just want to see it if that's the case.
I'm sure it will be good. That Legends Arceus was such a breath of fresh air. It was so cool to see them try something so different. I'm glad they let themselves do weird things. The fact that they changed the battle system as wildly as they did, that would never be something I would want to see in the mainline games. I would call what they did in Arceus too extreme for a mainline game. That they changed too much, and it would not have felt like a normal Pokemon game.
I mean,
But to do that
you can
in a
you can argue the same thing for like the old GameCube games like Coliseum and DX. That they are their own thing. They work as as a separate series, if that makes
exactly
sense.
that it would have been too extreme for a mainline game, but I love that they let themselves be that extreme and go those places in a spin-off, because I did not know how much I wanted that type of game. And the core gameplay loop of just, sneaking around catching Pokemon, it was so easy to just lose yourself for a couple of hours. The week it came out, I had some days where I was playing that game for like 8 hours and just sort of, I'd blink and it would be 3 a.m. and be like, oh man, but I could catch one or two more Pokemon before bed, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it does happen like that. That concept of Pokemon in general was super unique. And if you really think about it, what was the last spin-off game that started a new thing since like Arceus? I think it was what, Pokemon Dungeon?
So Pokemon Mystery Dungeon is interesting because there had been Mystery Dungeon games before, that it was its own sort of franchise. But I'm trying to remember. Yeah, what was the last spin-off game prior to Arceus?
I
Let's
think it
see
was
here.
either a remake of the couple of first Mystery
Yeah.
Dungeons, or it was either a mobile game.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider the mobile games spin-offs, and I wouldn't consider remake spin-offs either. The remakes are still, I consider them mainline. Let's see here. What do we have? So we have Legends Arceus. Going back, you had Brilliant Diamond, Shining Pearl, which sort of it's a
Those are
mainline.
remakes.
That's mainline.
Those are
That's
remakes of
mainline.
mainline. Yeah.
Mainline. Holy cow! That was. Oh wait. So these are. Sorry, I'm looking at the Wikipedia article right now, trying to find. No, that's the mainline stuff. That's all the mainline stuff. There's so many things of just all the different ones that have been made, but you might be right. It may have actually just been the Mystery Dungeon ones. Now that I'm looking through it all and remembering what was where. Yeah, and that's the thing with Pokemon, that they, for better or worse, do not consider themselves beholden to any of their spin-offs. That, goodness knows, the Mystery Dungeon series was wildly successful, but they haven't really done anything with it lately. That they did a port, a remake, but we haven't had a new Mystery Dungeon game since was it 2015? Yeah,
want
Pokemon
to say-
Super Mystery Dungeon in 2015.
Gotcha.
So 9 years ago. It's been 9 years since we had a new original Mystery Dungeon game.
Mm-hmm. So it's been since 2015 to Legends Arceus for them to make a new spin-off game, technically.
I believe so. I'm looking through that we had,
Because before that, you have the original Mystery Dungeons on the Game Boy Advance, and then you
Game
have
Boy
the
Advance and
Coliseo.
DS.
You have Coliseo and
They had Pokemon Snap. They had new Pokemon Snap. Snap.
Never mind then. Pokemon Snap and Legends Arceus released close to each other, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, because new Pokemon Snap was April 2021. Arceus was 2022. Yeah, so new Snap, and that was the revival of a one that was way far back as well. That we had the original Snap in
on the 64.
90. Yeah, the original Snap was 1999.
And the Nintendo 64, and this is supposedly a sequel of it, right?
Yeah, it's not a remake. It is not a linear sequel. That it's not continuing directly, but it is a proper and new game.
So yeah, technically, it's a continuation of the spin-off franchise.
Yeah, but the fact that they did not feel the need to do a Snap game for 20 years, that the only consistency in Pokemon development is the mainline games, and that I have no idea what the rhyme or reason is between their moving back and forth between their many spin-off games that just scrolling through, they have Pinball, Mystery Dungeon, Ranger, Rumble, Snap, puzzle games, Prose, which is sort of its own thing, Detective Pikachu. You have that's old. What's this? Arcade games? No, that's arcade games. Pokken.
Yeah.
There's so many different things, and then there's the card game and everything. And there's probably going to be more that we haven't even thought of yet. That there was the Conquest. Yeah, the tactical RPG.
Right.
Pokemon can be adapted into basically whatever the heck they want, and I don't even know what genre I would want to see from them next. I'm quite content to have more Legends right now.
I mean, more Legends sounds good. It's their own thing. It's just a what if scenario if we did this with our current mechanics, basically.
Yeah.
Like if we make it more explorative, more of an adventure than just an RPG.
Yeah. Do you have any spin-off games that you would want to see?
From Pokemon? I would like to see another shot to Pokken tournament, if that makes any sense. Like, a fighting game with Pokemon, it's actually a good idea. Because you're already fighting, like, on an RPG scenario, right? But having the ability to, in real time, control the abilities and moves of your Pokemon sounds like a better deal for me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Plus, the first Pokken was developed by by Bandai Namco, which basically you have the creator of Tekken there working for a Pokemon game, which is actually really nice. Maybe expand the roster to include at least one or two Pokemon from each generation, and we're good.
Yeah, and I know it had a pretty lively competitive scene for a while.
Yeah, for a while, yes, it was pretty lively, but still. It lasted a little too short because I think the game either was way too unbalanced or the online wasn't functioning properly. Which is
possibly a combination.
Possibly a combination because it was the Wii U. So yeah, I would like to see either that game be re-released or give it another shot with a second game.
Yeah. There's so much cool stuff.
Yeah.
Just even Mario has been doing fun and different things. That you had the recent Princess Peach game, which is super exciting. Mario's done everything from paper, and there's a lot of different ones. And curious when we're going to get our next one, because it's been a minute since we've had a full and proper Mario game that I consider. I guess it would be Odyssey.
No, Mario 1.
Like,
Well, depends. You have the 2D platformer Mario and the 3D platformer Mario. If
yeah,
we're
sorry,
talking
just
3D,
had
it's
a
Odyssey.
3D, yeah, 3D platformer.
Because the 2D one we got recently one, which is Mario Wonder.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I don't know what they could do to get something like Mario better than Mario Odyssey, or to expand
I don't
on
know.
it.
Odyssey was just phenomenal.
Yeah. Odyssey
And
is so beast at this point.
Yeah, I'm quite content to let them take their time and cook on that.
Yeah. It was already hard enough to get a new 3D Mario after Mario Galaxy 2. So yeah, no, I'll let them cook for a couple of years. It's going to be a hard one.
Yeah, I do appreciate that for the Mario franchise, that they take their time, and both Mario and Zelda, that they don't let themselves be constrained by, oh, we need to release a game this year. That, Zelda very famously is extremely open to delays, and I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm. Plus, the date they wanted to release Breath of the Wild originally just so happened that it also had a new console coming out, so might as well delay it so you can have the other console coming up with a release title. And whoa, that was a good decision. Holy shit!
Yeah. Oh.
Releasing the Switch with Breath of the Wild was wild.
Yeah, and that they did that. They released Twilight Princess with the Wii. That having Zelda as a release title, generally speaking, just business-wise, having a big first-party game as a release title for a system is going to help move more systems. You will always do better if you have something that is going to be a console mover like that. And for Nintendo, Mario and Zelda, those are going to be the main two that will really get things going. And yeah, Twilight Princess is... It's difficult to say if Twilight Princess or Breath of the Wild is my favorite Zelda game at this point, that they're both so good but so different.
Yes. Like, Breath of the... Well, you can say the exact same thing for each game in the series, if we are being honest.
Yeah, they keep things very fresh there. It's very nice.
The closest thing you will get to Breath of the Wild, I think it's maybe Wind Waker, but even then, that's a stretch.
Yeah, no, the Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are their own thing, just wildly different, in that we basically only ever get up to 2 games in the same sort of style / continuity, because you had Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, which were same iteration of Hyrule, same reincarnation, basically, but even those, obviously those 2 games are wildly different.
Yeah, that's why pinpointing a chronological timeline on this series is bullshit.
Oh, well, they finally actually published an official one, so that helped. And they've unified the timelines now. That they did a very logical hand wave of, okay, we have these 3 timelines that are all instigated because of Ocarina of Time. But that with Breath of the Wild, the timelines are unified because it's 10,000 years from the last one previous until Breath of the Wild, and they say that, all 3 of these timelines, given 10,000 years, inevitably converge, that no matter what happened in those 3 timelines, they would all eventually lead to this. So we are now in a single linear timeline, and that was if you're doing timeline shenanigans, I think that's a very simple and logical way of, okay, we're so far in the future that this was inevitable. That this was a fixed event, a canon event, as it were, to borrow the phrase from Spider-Man, that no matter what, this was going to happen. And, in terms of all of the craziness that you can get with timelines, that is a reasonable thing to do, and it was a very clean way to resolve it.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so just having this specific particular moment in history that cannot be avoided nor skipped, to just happen to just make everything just make sense in just one line, it's actually really smart. No matter what happened, no matter what decision you make, everything is going to make sense.
And that releases from here will all be going forward in that timeline, so that unless they do another game that has time travel again, that they now have a simple timeline to work with.
Yeah.
But then again, I wouldn't be surprised if they did time travel again anyways. Who knows?
I mean, they most likely can, so I'm not going to stop them. It's their franchise, not mine.
Yeah.
So
But we will see.
Yeah, we'll see. Anyways, I think we had a good time here.
This has been an absolute blast.
Oh hell yeah! It has been a show. Holy god! It's been fun. I have to admit, I had a lot of fun. Even though we diverged a lot on video game stuff, and just now we focus on it.
Yeah, finally sort of brought it back. But hey,
it's fine.
That's what happens when you get a talk show host. That I told you, I was like, I haven't played too many recent games, so I'm not going to be able to talk a ton about those. But got me on a good ramble about how we are here from there, and that we talked a lot about games last time I was on. So I was like, okay, yeah. I don't want to just rehash everything I discussed then. I honestly, I don't remember enough that there may have been things that I discussed today that I discussed last time, but I was like, I don't want to take the risk, so let's talk at least a bit about something I know I didn't do last time. But then, obviously, we wanted to bring it back to gaming, and those new announcements were perfect.
Yeah, plus, I honestly don't mind talking about something outside of gaming if the situation calls for it,
Mm-hmm.
Plus, at the end of the day, You said it yourself. You didn't play too much lately, and you don't want to rehash stuff we did last time, which I don't remember either. So we are on the same boat on that plan. So in my case, I just have fun. I just like to have fun. That's what I say. We'll figure it out, Mm-hmm. And we did. So
definitely, and I really appreciate you reaching out to me again. That excited that you've been continuing on, and even if you take a bit of a break from talk show, that excited to see what you end up doing next.
Oh yeah, me too. I wonder what's going to happen to the show next time. Yeah. But that's something I'm going to think once I reach the end of the month, which I still have 2 guests to go. So
yeah, very excited.
That's an adventure I still need to finish. But yeah, anyone you want to rate?
Well, let's see. And actually, that for me, that if you want to see me talk more, I'm going to be talking more in 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2 hours. With Mint Castella. So that'll be on my channel in 2 hours. But for now, let's see. Where do we want to go? Oh, gosh. This is so difficult. And, I always ask my guests who they want to rate because it means that I don't need to worry about where I'm going. Knowing the folks that I've seen in chat.
Hey, Mup.
Let's. It's so difficult. Let's go to Vivi.
Vivi?
Yeah.
Alright, let's see if I can find her. Vividly Vivi. They are just chatting at the moment.
Yeah, I think she's actually doing some reactions to...
the Idol debuts, right.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Because I was mentioning Idol earlier, of them getting to do Spanish, but they also have a new generation. I think it's 2 existing folks that are joining Idol, which is very exciting. So, yeah, let's rate into Vivi.
Alright, let's rate Vividly Vivi. They're just reacting to that, and I think they just finished Skyrim for the day. So
yeah, she's been on her. She calls it her Skyrim hiatus. That she's just been playing a lot of Skyrim. She's like, I know I'm a variety streamer, but this is what I'm really into right now. So, this is the Skyrim hiatus, and it's been very fun. She's been having a good time. It's great.
Hell yeah. Anyways, that's it for me. Be seeing you guys later, and also don't forget to go follow Vtuber Talk. They're going to have a stream later today. And might as well check it out. Why not? It's a fun time. I can assure you that. Hey, thank you for that, Mob. Anyway, be seeing you guys later. Bye.
Bye.